Hey, what is up, guys, and welcome back to Football Discussions. And today, we're going to be breaking down what people are starting to see in Kellen Mond. Obviously, Chris Sims was the first one to kind of put him in his top 5 quarterbacks, had him above Trey Lance, had him above Justin Fields, which shocked a lot of people. But I kind of I disagreed with it at first, but going back on Chris Sims' timeline, obviously he's been very, very accurate with quarterbacks before. So I kind of wanted to see what he sees in Kellen Mond. Didn't really dive into his tape all that much before, but yesterday I watched 4 of his games. I watched A&M versus Alabama, A&M versus Florida, A&M versus UNC in the Orange Bowl, and then A&M versus LSU, which is regarded as his worst game. Alabama and Florida are regarded as some of his best games. So try to see all sides of Kellen Mond. And then the other thing I want to mention real quick is this is JPL Productions video of just every throw and run of Kellen Mond at the Senior Bowl. So not my content, and he said in his description that it's not his content, so we're all copying each other here. But just wanted some background while I kind of dove in to why Kellen Mond, or why I started to like Kellen Mond. So I just want to say before this process, I had him as my quarterback 8, had him behind Mills, had him behind Trask as well, but after watching him, he's moved up to my quarterback 6. He's moved from a day 3 to a day 2 pick. So after watching the tape, I'm starting to see what Chris Sims saw in him, starting to see what some other guys see in him. He intrigues me a lot. I think that he definitely can be a day 2 pick. He went from a day 3 to a day 2 for me, and a guy that could potentially end up being a starter in the NFL. I think he has that capability, and it starts with his throwing. And I'll start with the pros here. I think that one thing that Kellen Mond does really well is his release. That one didn't really show up on tape there on that throw, but you can see it often. He has a great throwing motion. His mechanics are really good. He keeps the ball right here and then has a high release point, throws it very quick, gets it out of his hands very quick. That's something that you want to see, especially on the plays that he runs a lot at A&M, whether it was RPO, slant routes, or just short intermediate routes. Those are the throws where Kellen Mond excels. He has a great arm in the sense that he has a high velocity throw, so he throws it very hard, is able to get the ball out of his hands very fast, and can fit it into tight windows. That's something that I also didn't really see coming with Kellen Mond. His ability to just fit it in tight windows with that high velocity is something that I think shows up on tape often. The other thing that really excites me about Kellen Mond's throwing ability is his ball placement, especially on those short and intermediate routes. He has a great ability to throw receivers open on slants. That's a great throw right there. That's a prime example of what I'm talking about, right? He drops back. We can watch that one more time. He drops back. Let's see it. He drops back, 2 guys converging on the wide receiver, and he fits it right in that window. Again, it's not a long throw, but his ability to, put it in a spot where only his receiver can catch it is something that I think shows up more often than not on film, especially on short and intermediate routes. Also, we can talk about his running ability. Obviously, a great athlete. You saw it a lot at A&M. He's a great runner on design runs, is able to have good vision, good power with his runs, whether it's QB sneak, QB draw, QB power, option, read option, speed option. Anything you do on a design run, Kellen Mond will be able to excel at. Obviously, preserves his body as well. Slid a lot at A&M this year. Knows when to get down. Knows when to not take a big hit. So those are all things that I really, really like about him. The other thing that excites me about Kellen Mond is his composure in the pocket. Kellen Mond gets hit quite a bit, but doesn't necessarily panic, is able to, especially, and I'm going to go back to this a lot, on short and intermediate throws. This is not a great example, but it's a good example of him staying in the pocket and making a throw, despite the fact that he's getting hit. I think that he does that a lot, right? The pressure comes in, he's able to stay in the pocket. This is a great example of what I'm talking about. We'll go back here. He drops back, pressure comes in, stays in the pocket, stays composed, and is able to throw that receiver on the money. And he does that a lot, and I'll go back to it, on short and intermediate throws. And you'll see why when I start to go to the cons. But in an offense where it's really short and intermediate throws, cough, Patriots, cough, 49ers, and it's a run-first offense that runs a lot of play action, a lot of bootlegs, I think Kellen Mond can be really, really good and excel. So that's something that, all those things are things that excite me about Kellen Mond. And then the last thing I'll talk about that's a pro is his it's a unique ability, and I think Mac Jones possesses it too, but he doesn't really need space to throw. So when the pocket collapses, it kind of goes hand in hand with, one, his release, and one, his ability to stay composed during pressure, but he doesn't need that big windup. He doesn't need to be able to have like 3 seconds to get the ball out of his hands. No matter how many people are crowding the pocket, he can get that. He holds it right here, doesn't fumble the football, has that high release, and is able to get the ball out of his hands no matter what. So these are all things that really excite me about Kellen Mond. Now let's switch over to the cons here. The one thing I will say that shows up on tape more often than anything else is his inconsistency with the deep ball. Misses big plays very often. Doesn't seem to be able to throw it accurately deep. And it's not a lack of arm strength. He'll overthrow it. He'll underthrow it. It's really just his inconsistency that stands out the most. That's what's concerning about Kellen Mond. So in an offense that's throw first, that throws a lot of deep balls, runs a lot of spread, I don't think Kellen Mond will be able to succeed. I think he's very scheme dependent, but if he goes to the scheme that's best for him, then he can be a really good player. I'm talking about teams like the 49ers, the Patriots, even a Ryan Tannehill future replacement with the Titans, a team that loves to run play action, a team that loves to run the football. I think that's a perfect spot for Kellen Mond. So there's a lot of things that I really like about him, but that deep ball is not one of them. The other thing is, with that high velocity throw comes his ability that I feel like a lot of college quarterbacks have, which is like, fuck it, I'm going to fit it in there no matter what. So on a lot of throws, he'll try to fit it in windows that just aren't there. Will force the ball. Comes out so high, and he has that ball placement where it really doesn't get picked off all that often, but it gets batted down a bit. And then the other thing that stood out to me the most, which was most shocking, is his horrible pocket presence. So while he is able to stand in the pocket and take hits and throw, there's a lot of times that he should be stepping up in the pocket, moving around in the pocket, but he really doesn't do that. He does his 3-step drop, stays in the pocket, does not really move at all, and that's not going to fly in the NFL. You have to have pocket movement. You have to be able to step up. You have to be able to escape the defense, and that's something that he doesn't really do all that well. He really just stays in the pocket, and sometimes that leads to sacks. Sometimes that leads to him throwing the football with pressure in his face, but throwing it in a bad spot, which we saw in this Senior Bowl tape a little earlier. So that's another thing that really just surprised me. So it's really only designed runs where his running ability is great. And then on those, breakdown plays and his improvisation, those are the things that he needs to work on. Those are the things that are bad for him right now. So overall, good prospect, someone that I'm really excited to see in the league next year. I think he can definitely go to a team where he can eventually be a starter. He really, really excites me. Again, needs to go to a run-first team, needs to have the ability to why am I blanking on what I want to say? He needs to have the ability to run a lot of play action, run a lot of bootlegs. These are all things he needs. And then the last thing I want to say about Kellen Mond is my pro comp for him is that he is Baker Mayfield. He reminds me a lot of Baker Mayfield in the sense that they both have high velocity throws. You'll see it all the time. Baker will just whip it at a guy who's 10 yards away, fit it in windows. These are things that they both do very well, and both are very similar in their game. I really like that about both those quarterbacks, their ability to have that high velocity throw. Even though they don't have the biggest arms, they have similar releases, and they both both their passing ability can really be benefited if their offense is run first and the defense is obviously focused on the run, and then you run play action, you run bootlegs, you get Kellen Mond moving. I think those are all similarities that he has with Baker Mayfield. These are all things that I think could bode well for Kellen Mond. So overall, again, he went from my quarterback 8 to my quarterback 6, which is exciting. I love seeing guys progress like that, especially after spending some time watching them. And I think that he went from a day 3 pick to a day 2 pick. So Kellen Mond, definitely a player to watch out for. Definitely a quarterback that we could see go after the Big 5. And I think he is the quarterback that will go after the Big 5. So overall, that's my take on Kellen Mond. If you like this video, leave a like. And if you want to see more, subscribe. Take it easy, guys. Peace.